What is going on, Stonebladers? Today we're going to have a fun matchup against Bug Depths, and it appears we have hit the matchup lottery. We've had a lot of Dark Depths opponents. It's always a really good thing because Stoneblade is certainly favored against them. We'll talk about the sideboarding, what we bring and what we take out after the first game, but since we're on the first game, here we are on the draw. I believe I have played against this person before, despite the fact I don't have their avatar shown right here. It did look familiar. I think I'd seen their name probably before when I played, many months ago, but either way, I didn't remember what they were on. This hand is not the best in the world, however, it is good at kind of slowing the game down and then dragging on to, I guess you could say, the mid-range. Obviously, if they're going to be playing something that I can spell pierce, I'm going to utilize that. If they have some type of haymaker, I can obviously force pitch pierce, and I do have mana for councils, so while I'm not going to be getting ahead anytime soon, I don't mind this. This could be a hand that someone would throw back, and I certainly wouldn't fault them for it, but I'd rather not mulligan a hand. At least if they're combo, I have ways to protect against that as well. I think having that extra card is such a big deal, and people who played with companions sure know about that. Okay, Elvish Reclaimer. Sure, we've seen a lot of the Elvish Reclaimer lately. Okay, so here, I believe it's just going to be a Polluted Delta. Pass, of course. Nothing I can do. I mean, I can crack it and do nothing, but that's no fun. As I talked about this many times before, in this scenario, if you're looking just to get islands, you want to play your Polluted Delta over your Flooded Strand. I know it's not a big thing, but I also know not everyone thinks about it that way. You want to save these until you need to use them, because later in the game, if you need a island or a plains, you can get it, especially when you're playing against a deck that utilizes Wasteland. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay. Playing something? Playing nothing. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so here I believe, let's see, it might have just been a Plains or an Arid Mesa. Looking back at it, I'd probably say, or a Flooded Strand probably is the best bet here, because if I need Plains or islands, let's see. Okay, that's fine. I think I was betting on, the reason I did that is because I probably might want to play Council's Judgment next turn, so at least I need to get my Plains, so I can get Plains with that. I can utilize this, and then I'll still have these left over for getting Plains or islands, so that makes sense. Okay. This is also a little bit more threatening compared to a Plains. Like, I'm not going to be spell piercing someone off this, but for example, if I play a spell pierce and I still have this, ideally the person's probably going to understand that I can fetch a duel with that. So they're playing something on 2 or 3. Ha! Isn't that perfect? It's funny, like, every time this card gets played, it's like we always have a way to deal with it. It's very ironic. Like, I understand it's a very powerful card, but it hasn't done a whole lot against me. And I've played, let's see, I've played 11 or 12 matches so far, and I'm either 10-1 and 11-1. I think it's 11-1, but one of those games was against some like really weird test of a deck I wouldn't even call Legacy playable. So at the moment I've been like 10-1, and I've played against this multiple times. You'll actually see me play against this more in this matchup to give you a good idea of what it's all about. Obviously, as I've said many times before, Oko is going to be very powerful for, say, like if I didn't have a Spell Pierce there, if I didn't have Force of Will there, and if I didn't have a Council Judgment. I had so many ways of dealing with it, but either way, it's all about, a lot of times, for example, if I had a Stoneforge and I played a Stoneforge on turn 2, and then you just get an Elk out of Stoneforge, like that's a really bad play. Like I talked about, the first few turns are pretty much making sure you can clear the board, making sure they don't play anything that's really going to dampen your game plan, and then drag it into the mid-range, and that's where you can really shine, because then you have specific planeswalkers like Narset, you have Teferi, you have Jace, you also have True-Name, which is really good against a lot of decks like this one. You have Back to Basics if that comes into play. Either way. Let's carry on, my wayward son. A little Kansas reference for you. Why are we not moving? Okay, cool. Come on. I don't want to click too fast because then it like goes through the entire turn, but something's going crazy here. Okay, cool. More removal. This isn't actually all that bad. So what I want to do here is, I don't want to play Narset. I want to get rid of this because what they can do is utilize this and get a Dark Depths, and then they're pretty much going to be able to get the combo. So what I want to do here is play Plains and crack Arid Mesa. That way, still, once again, I will be able to get Plains or Island, although given the fact that I would have 2 Plains and 1 Island, these are probably going to get Islands, but either way, it's always best to leave those until you need them. Those are the most powerful fetches, at least in my deck. I'm not utilizing any Prismatic Vistas, simply because I like the Arid Mesa fetches for both of my Tundra and Volcanic. Both of my dual lands, okay? I'm also going to take it a little bit slower. The last commentary that I did, I was so mentally fatigued. Not only did I play a few games, but I recorded both, like, I think it was like 35 or 40 minute commentary talks. And with those, I feel like doing the commentary talks is actually more taxing on your brain than actually playing the game itself, because it's funny. I'll go through games and matches and be like, wow, I should have played that so much differently. And when I'm explaining things, I'm always finding new ways to make things work. So it's just like, okay, so let's get back to this anyway. I don't want this to resolve. They can get a Dark Depths, and I have no way of dealing with that unless they create a Merit Lage token at sorcery speed, which we've seen before, which is hilarious. I'm not taking that chance. I'm pretty sure, like I said, I played against this person. I'm pretty sure they're pretty solid. They know what they're doing. So Force of Will pitching Narset. Narset isn't even all that great unless they probably have like a one of Sylvan Library if they're lucky. Maybe it's in the sideboard, but still, I have no problem getting rid of Narset in that scenario. Okay, let's ponder. Let's ponder. There we go. Thank you, MTGO. Okay. And speaking of making my brain hurt, okay, there are just so many lines when it comes to this specific ponder. They're all not that bad, given the fact that I have removal already here. Snap can allow me to snap more removal because I have a lot of mana. I can pierce something. Either way, I like all of these. I have Brainstorm and I have, lands to fetch with. Ponder, like they're all good. So I'm really not going to get too deep into this. I think it was just like Snapcaster, Ponder, Brainstorm. This was one where you could probably think about for an hour and come up with so many different lines. So for once, I'm not going to just go nuts with it. And ideally, I wanted to not fetch. Okay. That's fine because I have an answer for that as well. Everyone discards a card. Now, ironically enough, I discarded a Brainstorm. I'm not sure if that was the proper one to do. Looking back at it now, it'd probably be a Flooded Strand, given the fact that I can still next turn untap, Brainstorm, crack a Flooded Strand. Either way, I don't know why I threw away a Brainstorm. There's probably a reason to my madness. I think it was because I wanted to be able to Snapcaster and Council's Judgment should I get my Snapcaster, which would be 5 mana. I think that was one of the big reasons why. Because another Council's Judgment, well, obviously I can take care of this, and then another one would be able to take care of an Oko or anything else aside from a non-sorcery speed Merit Lage token, of course. Okay, so we knew that was coming. Let's get rid of Liliana. I'm telling you, this card comes in just... It's very handy, especially the way I play the game. Like, I don't mind playing it on my turn. If you've noticed, it's been back and forth. Like, they play something, I get rid of it. They play something, I get rid of it. They play something, I counter it. And it just keeps going back and forth until you get some incremental value, and it just keeps going, and eventually, Stoneblade is really good when it comes to top deck wars, especially against decks like this, while they have overall more threats because they have no cantrips, so to speak. I was going to say less cantrips. They don't play any unless they have a card that cantrips, which are a few. Either way, we still have Ponder and Brainstorm, which allows us to not only search through our deck, but to get cards to replace them, to get the best hand possible. And then we have like stuff like Narset, like Jace. So I like when we kind of get to this trading resources or, one card for one card. That's fine, because this happens a lot where it kind of moves into the end game. And usually I have the big advantage when it comes to this as being, playing Stoneblade. Sometimes they find their cards before you, but overall, I think if you've watched a lot of my games, I usually end up on the winning side, so to speak. Not every time, and they just randomly did that. I don't know if they were trying to bluff a crop rotation, but okay. Ponder. Okay, so let's see what we have. This isn't going to do anything. Right now they don't have a Dark Depths, so that's fine. I'm not too worried about that unless they do have crop rotation Dark Depths. then I'd be in trouble. But either way, I believe I pondered here. Okay, see, this is like the perfect time of the game for Jace. I didn't even play 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think I played a land, but this in the face of Jace isn't all that great. However, what I could do is simply just bring in Jace, Brainstorm, and then it trades, which wouldn't be the worst in the world. Either way, what I did, I think, is Polluted Delta, Jace, Brainstorm. Okay. I shouldn't have fetched there. Then I was going to play Flooded Strand. It's not a mistake that's going to cost me, but you usually want to save your fetch until when you actually need to do it. But then I decided not to Brainstorm. Sometimes that happens, but just to tighten up the play a little, I would have kept that there. Because sometimes, like we've seen before, they'll actually wasteland your fetch thinking you kept something good on top, which I didn't, and then you can just fetch away and they lose a land. Sure. Here I actually wanted to Brainstorm because I want to get rid of this simply for the fact that next turn when they untap, this can turn on Thespian Stage, and of course, well, they can get Dark Depths, then it can turn on the combo. So what I wanted to do here is Brainstorm now simply to be able to use all my mana, because next turn if I don't draw a land, we have 1, 2 for Snapcaster and then 3 for Council's Judgment. So that's why I wanted to Brainstorm here. Okay, it's not bad. We're getting rid of these two. While it's not that bad to have a Jitte with this. This has first strike, so we're not getting through that anytime soon, given the fact we're going to be getting rid of this. So these two are an easy put back, and then we're shuffling. Probably should be an island here. Good. Okay, so pretty much what we want to do is 1, 2. Make sure you tap island first. Like if you do island plains, you're going to be in trouble. Make sure you look at how you're tapping when it comes to your Snapcasters. I talked about that in a previous game too. I feel like I've been casting a lot of Council's Judgments lately. Reclaimer, you're exiled. You were gone. 1 vote. And I didn't play a land simply because if they had another Liliana, that means I could ditch this, and then next turn I can Snapcaster Council's Judgment again. There's always good reasons to either play or not play your land. Just got to kind of come up with them. Okay, they're attacking. Let me skip through. And they are playing. Okay, another one. Cool. So right now they are the beatdown. And this is really good. Okay, so we have a lot of options here. We do have Snapcaster, and we have, like Brainstorm. I don't think Brainstorming here would be great. That would be 1, 2, 3. We could actually Snapcaster, Brainstorm, put 2 back on top, and shuffle with Stoneforge. I'd actually rather save Snapcaster for something, say maybe if they wanted to play another Oko, that can protect my Stoneforge. So I like being more reactive with Stoneforge with Snapcaster. So what I'm going to do here is just play Stoneforge. Should be tapping 1 white, 1 blue. Yes, good. That keeps the swords open that I have in my hand, quote unquote, have in my hand. Remember, we're always making it as difficult as possible for our opponents. Okay, I'll bring that in, because I am going to start needing some more land when it comes to maybe doing Batterskull tricks, when it comes to utilizing this. Maybe if I need to use it with this and another Council's Judgment. Plus it takes 5 to bring this in and do tricks with it when it comes to Batterskull, so that was the reason why I played that. Here I do want to start preserving my life, so Snapcaster is, he's on the chopping block. Thank you for your hard work, your Council's Judgment. You brought it back. You got rid of some good cards. You did your job. Okay, they got another one. Cool. Okay, before I get going, here I actually wanted to Brainstorm. The reason is simple for this, because I don't have a swords, and pretty much next turn I'm not going to be wanting to, do Snapcaster Council's Judgment. That'll cost 3, 4, 5. Then I won't be able to bring in the Batterskull, so that was the reasoning behind that. Let's Snapcaster, let's Brainstorm. We need some type of removal, not Council's Judgment, given those are all gone. We can't get those anyway, so there we go. Wow, those are like 3 perfect cards. Okay, so pretty much since I'm not planning on shuffling, I want all of these. all you have to do is ask yourself, if you're not planning on shuffling, what card do you not want? And that's the one that's going to be on top in terms of the bottom. So it would be Spell Snare, anything else, and then I'm not going to shuffle. I already had my turn planned out accordingly. It was going to be perfect, but however, this was actually one of the beginning games that I had with Teferi, and what comes with playing new cards equals new lines, new mistakes, and anyone. So allow me to explain how I thought this was going to play out. First and foremost, what I was going to do was play Teferi. Okay, that would have been blue, blue, white. What I would have done is return this to the hand. I draw a card, it's a Spell Snare. Then I can Swords to Plowshare this. Then, of course, I can bring in Batterskull, and I can even, what's it called, Spell Snare or something. So I had a lot going on there. Let's see, that would have been 3, 4, 5 total mana. Wait, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so I would have been able to do all of that except one thing, probably the Spell Snare. That wasn't a big deal. However, there was something that I learned about Teferi. Maybe you know it. I understand that they can remove all the, the counters on it. So what I did is this. In response, as kind of expected, they did that. And I figured, well, since I'm not going to be drawing my Spell Snare, I'll do that. And then I'm like, where's my card? Okay, so I never knew this. There was no, it says it in like the side notes, there was no real legal target. So I didn't know that was something. I thought that it just went in effect, and even if it died, I would still draw a card. I'm not sure if you knew that at all, but now you do, okay? So if someone ever uses like a Teferi on something, if like you want to be sneaky, I guess you can return it to your hand and they won't draw a card. Actually, you can't do that. You'd have to sacrifice it like you did with this. So that was a very specific scenario. I'm not sure if that will ever come up with you, because obviously they can't play any instance because Teferi's in there. All they could do was sacrifice that. So if I had to play that again, I probably would have just bounced that, I guess. And then maybe on the stack, I could have just swords it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Actually, this wasn't all that bad, given the fact that this one is gone, this is going to be gone, and now it's just 2 versus 1. So despite the fact it didn't work 100% how I wanted to, it didn't end up that bad. I just learned something new. Let's swords this. Okay. Now we have Batterskull mana up. And we are slowly but surely creeping our way back into the game, what we always seem to do when it comes to these games. That's why they're so much fun. I once read a really good article about Stoneblade saying that the deck felt, pretty good, but this was a few years back, by the way. This was when Supreme Verdict came out, whatever year that was. The person's like, it was good and all, but for some odd reason, I always felt like I was behind, like I was always losing. And I 100% agree. Stoneforge is not something that wins from sheer power, although it can if you throw like Okos in there and it just, it just wins on its own. It's all about these little incremental valuable plays, which you've seen a lot of when it comes to Snapcaster, when it comes to trading 1-for-1, when it comes to making the right card selection, the card choices. All of these little things will really add up towards the end to help you win. With that being said, this is going to be a very simple strategy here. I am playing Jitte and I am equipping it. It doesn't really matter how I tap my mana because it's the only card in my hand. Now keep in mind, I am not going to want to attach it to one of these because it can simply block with first strike, kill it, and I get no counters. So this is going straight to Batterskull. Now, I wouldn't say I get blown out. I just lose a lot of tempo should they get rid of the Germ token, which getting rid of the Germ token is what they did. Okay, that's not a big deal. That's fine. Sure, because we have plenty of mana. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, so I can at least attach Batterskull. If I draw one land, I can attach both next turn. And I didn't block simply for the fact that I knew if I drew a land, I could attach one on each. And there's actually some good strategy when it comes to that as well, assuming I draw a land. What do you got? I think they were trying to bluff playing Oko now. I think they're trying to be a little funny over there. Okay. And we drew a land. Perfect. So let's play that. Let's crack it. Let's get an island. Let's play that. There we go. Okay, so now you want to keep in mind, what you want to do is ask yourself, what does the opponent not want to happen the most? Do they care too much about me connecting with a Batterskull, or do they care more about me connecting with the Jitte? The fact of the matter is that if I connect with the Jitte, that means I can kill this, which means that if they get a Dark Depths, they can't utilize this. So with that in mind, whatever creature the Jitte goes on is probably the one that's going to eat any type of removal, assuming they have it. So with that being said, in this case, I think on my side, Stoneforge is going to be much more important, given the fact that I have a lot of mana, and should I need to, the game drags on, I can do Batterskull tricks with it when it comes to obviously returning it to my hand, tapping it, and bringing it back in. With that being said, let's attach the proper equipments to the proper creatures. 5. Let's attack with both. No more Abrupt Decays. Oh, that's perfect. No more Abrupt Decays, and we are definitely turning the corner now, assuming they don't just get like a Merit Lage right here, and they, you know, bring it in, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, what's going on here? Go to main. You're going to go to main? MTGO, work with me? Okay, so here what we want to do right away is get rid of this. There's a few reasons why. If we wait until their next turn and they end up getting a Dark Depths, they can just use it and create a token. Also, what they could possibly do, if we remove one of these now in response, in case like they're on their last out and they don't have many other things they could do, what they could do is crop rotation in response to that and hope that I don't use another Jitte trigger on top of it. That way I would kill it and pretty much, you know, they would allow to not be able to do their thing. So there's a few things they can do. Either way, what I'm trying to say is we need to kill this now. Pretty much summed up, okay? So they're probably going to respond by sacrificing it once MTGO does that. So in response, that's perfect. Now we can gain 2 life. Sure. Because there would be a sneaky little way of them actually crop rotation. And then, like, if I didn't respond to that, they could bring in their Dark Depths, and while that's still on the stack, they could sacrifice this and then make their Dark Depths 20/20. Something to keep in mind, like if you only had 1 counter on that, that would be a possible way of doing that. If I only had 1 counter on it, I would wait just in case something like that happened. Okay, a Goyf. So we know Spell Snare is going to be amazing in this. They have Goyf. They probably have a few. They probably 4 Hex Mages. Probably some other cards. If you want to Spell Snare that, feel free to. I don't recommend it, but yeah, sure. Let's see what we get off the top. All right, so what we want to do here is pretty much just attach Jitte to this. If I attack with this, they're going to kill this. I'm going to get counters. I don't like that. But if I attach this to this, it's already a 5/6, so it can block, but that means it's just going to get counters, and they don't want to do that. So let's move Jitte on over. And it's very important how I tap there. Well, I mean, actually it wouldn't matter too much because I would still have 1 planes open. It's the next turn where I draw a nice one. Okay, so that's really good. We're at the position where should they draw Merit Lage, we are at 15, a virtual 19, so 1 more hit would allow us to get over 20 should we need to do that. And we are still in top deck war, which means they can draw some spiffy cards too, like my Polluted Delta. Told you it was a great card. Wasteland. Oh, you know those mana colors. Okay. I told you there was going to be more Oko, and this is still game 1, right? Okay, so let's see what you got, Oko. Keep in mind, this card actually does require some, it's not just like make a token attack. A lot of times there is more thinking to it than that, especially when you got a crazy board like this. So let's see what they do. Okay, this is where Batterskull tricks come into play. This is perfect. Okay, this is kind of similar to the Teferi thing when I went to bounce it, but if it bounces and comes back, this doesn't count. So let me walk you through and tell you exactly what the best play is here, and then I'm going to kind of tell you what I did and the reason why it worked and didn't work. Okay, so first and foremost, what you want to do is hold priority. So first you're going to tap colorless and plains, and you're going to do, you may put an equipment card from your hand onto the battlefield. You're going to do that, and usually I believe it's control that you hold in order to keep it on the stack. So what you would do is while you're doing that, then you would click on this, and then you would do return Batterskull to your hand. Okay, the reason you do it this way is simply because it plays around any removal. For example, If you just go to do return Batterskull to its owner's hand on the stack, they could Fatal Push this, they could Abrupt Decay this, they could do anything to this, and then pretty much I'm screwed. This is a way to play around removal. It's also a great way to play around Vendilion Clique, which comes up if you're going to be playing a lot of control matchups, okay? So that's pretty much the proper way of doing it. For some odd reason, I was having some trouble actually figuring this out. I haven't done it forever. I'm like, Stoneforge? Okay, and what I realized, it said pay blah 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 to use your mana. I didn't realize that I had to click on those because normally I don't. I'm like, why is this not working? So I was like, screw it, they don't have Abrupt Decay mana up, so I guess I get punished if they have like a Fatal Push, which they would have used a million years ago. So I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna do it the way that's been working. But normally it should be the other way. I had the right intentions, I just couldn't figure out what was going on. Let's bring it back into play. Surprise, and just like that, you get nothing. Batterskull tricks for the win. Want to attack Tarmogoyf? I'll block. It'll be fun. Anyway, I told you, we had a good one coming up. So what I want to do here is just get this out of the way. I don't care too much about their life. What I want to do is just attack this thing and kill it, and then we'll go from there. So let's Swords this. Let's Swords this. Come on. There we go. Now let's look at our attacks. Let's pretend that they did draw a Fatal Push and they didn't use it before. We want to look to see how we can actually kill them, or if we can actually make a mistake. For example, they're at 5. And for example, I just want to go, hey, let's attack it with the Germ and the Snapcaster, which would be 6. And then, of course, what would happen is they could just Fatal Push one of these, and then it wouldn't die. That's not good. So I'm thinking of the fact that they could have, let's just say, any type of removal. If I attack with all of them, can I still kill this? Okay, so let's say I do attack, and they Fatal Push this. That means I'll have 1, 2, 3 power, and then I can do 4, 5, so I can kill it with that. If they Fatal Push this, I definitely have enough. And if they Fatal Push, let's say that one, was it that one or the other one? Let's see. Anyway, this can be a 5 by itself. So either way, I had it covered. I just wanted to make sure that this was going to come off the board. Okay. Good. Because I think what would have happened there is, I'm not doing any more math. My mind's already like, stop thinking so much. But I think you get the idea. You just got to look at the possibility of, can you get blown out by them removing one of your creatures in the process? That's kind of the mindset behind it. They got nothing there. And we get something here. Oh, we do. Let's play that first simply because we can Brainstorm, and that Brainstorm is going to have a very big decision on what we do with our attack, whether we get something to protect any type of spells they're going to be playing. Let's play Jace, and let's have them concede. So there we go. That was, in my opinion, that was a really fun match. It was like a lot of the games we play, it's kind of even-ish. We stopped a lot of their haymakers. We even had some nice Batterskull tricks. So Batterskull for the win on that one. I had the right idea, but it was like, if someone's familiar with that, I know you hold, it's either Control or Shift. I think I just wasn't clicking on the choose the mana that you want to use, because that normally doesn't come up for me. Either way, right idea. We got the win. Let's move to the sideboard when it comes to game number 2 against Bug Dark Depths. All right, so the sideboarding is obviously going to change slightly depending on what you see, who you're playing, the cards they're bringing in. Either way, Path to Exile is awesome against not only a lot of their deck, but Dark Depths. They don't gain any life. Spell Snare, we saw we have a ton of targets for. Rest in Peace is good if they're using some type of I don't think I saw, obviously there's no Knight. I don't think it's good in this specific game. Disenchant's great in case they play Choke, Sylvan Library. Blah, blah, blah. Force of Negation is an extra way to deal with Oko. It's another great way to deal with Choke, should they have it. And, of course, back to basics. I don't think they were respecting it all too well. I don't remember exactly. But either way, Volk is coming out. They have Wastelands. Narset's definitely coming out. Narset, and then we have 2 more. Did I bring all of these? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Like I said, it changes all the time. It's like, do I want more protection when it comes to Force of Will or back to basics or whatever it's going to be? But aside from that, I might have taken out 1 Pierce, and really everything else is just kind of, I might have even taken a Ponder out, because I don't like pondering usually turn 1 on the draw. Taking Ponder out isn't that bad of a thing. I do it all the time, especially when I have more important like haymakers and cards I want to bring in. But it's pretty much going to fluctuate. Similar cards, like this, you can take out. It's really going to be up to you. But those were the cards that I chose to use, or at least in a similar way. You can probably add a few other things, like this can take out. I think I'm going to start being more flexible with this card. If they have creatures that cost 1 or 2, like I'm bringing this in because it can at least sit in my hand and I can use it later if needed. Or if I need help when it comes to like Planeswalkers, I could always keep my Vulcan and cast that on 3. Either way, that's something for me to keep in mind. Bringing in these here. Move them on over for you. Sort that. And then pretty much that's what our deck's going to look like. You could shave a Jace if you want. That's going to be up to you as well. But that should be good. Let's move to game number 2. All right, I really like this hand, despite the fact that it's like not powerful at all. We have plenty of land. We have plenty of cards to be able to play our land. Plus we have Ponder. We have Spell Snare for anything on turn 2. Plus we have an Island and a Polluted Delta for our nice Brainstorm combo. This hand looks very solid. And they mulligan to 6, okay? Sure, I think we've seen that like every game we've played against Depths. First turn, that is. If you know me well by now, then you'll probably know exactly what I did here. Island, go. Alright, this is good news because either they're playing a 1-drop, a 2-drop, or nothing. I like the 2-drop. I like doing nothing. Let's find out. Oh yeah, I feel like this is like such a great tempo card, especially for the fact that they can tap out, we can Spell Snare this and then like really set up our hand. Anyway, despite the fact this is a 0-1 right now, it takes like 2 seconds for this thing to grow into a nightmare. And despite the fact it says 0-1, we're still keeping it off the board. Like I said, we're controlling the board here. Very easy. Spell Snare. Plus they can't Veil of Bummer it, which is good. So here I might have done Polluted Delta or Ponder. Okay, so it was Ponder. The other option was be able to, put a Polluted Delta in and then Brainstorm end of their turn. I think the reason why I wanted to do this was simply because I wanted to look for some type of protection against, Oko, should they play it. So a Spell Pierce, Force of Will, Force of Negation, which means I probably could have done that via Brainstorm. Either way, this is good. We got our Force of Will. Okay, so Plains, Brainstorm, Force of Will. I don't need any more lands. Okay. And if I want that Brainstorm, I can fetch and remove it. If I don't, then... Oh, wait, if I want that Brainstorm, I wouldn't fetch. Okay, here we go with the mental fatigue. It's setting in. I do that all the time where I like say the wrong thing, but I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. Something like that. I didn't want the Brainstorm. This turn was looking like I wanted to play Clique, so it's going to be Plains Go. Like, I am kind of brewing up a really solid hand here. I got removal. I got 2 cantrips. We get to see what's going on in their hand. I have a Force of Will to get rid of any Haymaker. Snapcaster to, double swords. Okay. Part of the combo? Yes. Okay. They have the combo. Cool. All right, so here I wanted to see what was going on in their hand. Alrighty, hello Spell Snare, which I do have right here, which is good. So they have Bitter Blossom, they have Sylvan Library, and they have Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf's already at 4 or 5. I'm telling you, that thing grows quick. They grow so fast, don't they? Like literally all Spell Snare right here. And I think the most annoying card here, it's really tough to say, probably Bitter Blossom, because as the game goes on, these things are just going to keep poking me, and there's not much I can do about it. Plus, it accumulates really quickly, and if I end up swordsing a Dark Depths, then it's going to be tough to kill them, because they're going to have a fast clock, and I'm going to have to do some very fast work unless I get Batterskull out. With all that being said, I actually chose to give them and let them keep everything they had here. The reason for that is because I know I can deal with most of these. In fact, all of them. It just really depends on how they play it. And given the fact that I like being more of a reactive deck, I think having 100% information is more powerful than shipping one back and giving them a random card. So I said, you know what? you can have those. Click on no, and we'll continue. All right, so let's keep these up. I mean, when you think about it, I do have Snapcaster Spell Snare. I do have Swords. I do have Force of Will. So a lot of these cards are going to allow me to really help out against those. Look what I drew. Oh my god, that's perfect. So I believe, let's see, I might have pondered here. If I pondered, it's because I wanted to land really badly. Because I want to, actually, yes, let me take that back. I did ponder because I do have a Spell Snare. If I didn't have that Spell Snare, pondering could be a little bit risky, but it's probably going to be very easy to find a land within 4 cards, which I do. And this is really good as well. So what I want here is probably going to be Plains in the bottom, and then either Counterspell and then Polluted Delta. I think what I did was Plains, Counterspell, Polluted Delta, and not fetch. Yep, play a land. That's fine. Could have been the other way around as well. And yes, I'm attacking. I actually want them to use the combo here so I can plow it. I am now moving down into the beatdown section. I am now the beatdown despite the fact they have their combo. And this little doofus here. 1-2. Okay. Sylvan Library. This is going to be a very easy Spell Snare. I think out of all of these here, Tarmogoyf is the least worrisome. This one is just, they can get so much value out of it. That card is just so good. Like, I'd almost want to splash green just to play it. This will be an easy Spell Snare. Okay. And they could play a Goyf. Actually, they can't play a Goyf. That's really good. So, never mind. This doesn't provide any mana because they don't have a, was it Urborg? Whatever it is. All lands produce black as well, which makes your tapping so annoying. My goodness. We're not fetching as well. MTGO is really being super clicky today. Like, I got to click a ton of times, and I don't want to just ramp it because then I miss the entire turn. I'm like, well, can't rewind it. Sorry. Come on. There we go. Counterspell. So pretty much what I want to do here is just attack, I believe. And I did have an island or a plains on top. I forgot already, and I'm not even playing. It's funny. Okay. Because we know we want to get rid of this. This we can deal with. It's pretty much whatever they play, we're probably going to counter. Okay. That sucks, because usually that's something you want to use. Say, if you go to Swords, there are Dark Depths, and then you can obviously crop rot that. Nothing. Wow. Okay, so here what I decided to do is actually Snapcaster Brainstorm. I wanted some land, I wanted some other stuff, and since they weren't doing anything, I figured why not. Excuse me, I just Brainstorm, not Snapcaster Brainstorm. Okay, that makes sense. We want to save. I was going to say that doesn't make too much sense because this goes perfect with this and this. Anyway, what do I want here? I probably want 1 land, and everything else is actually pretty good. I'm not going to go too deep into this. I know I threw 1 land back and maybe another one, and I might have not have shuffled because I wanted that extra, what's it called? Plains. Okay, there we go. Next turn I'll probably shuffle. However, in this scenario, I definitely need more blue. That's something I should have kept in mind. Because if I do blue, white, blue, that's Spell Snare and, what's it called? Snapcaster, and then that means I only have blue, white up. So that was something I should have kept in mind. I didn't look ahead that far, and I should have. So that's a minor mistake. These are the types of mistakes that, like, someone just watching wouldn't realize, but as you play. I think I counterspelled that just to keep it off the board. I at least had a Council's Judgment to be able to use for the Bitter Blossom, so I was fine with countering that. Did they play Bitter Blossom? They did not. And I didn't want that land, which makes sense. I'm pretty sure it was a land. Ooh. This isn't bad at all. I believe I just played a True-Name here. And if they want to play this, that's fine. They can. But what are you getting now? Okay, so now that can produce mana. For the record. Nope. Okay, I didn't want to Force of Will that. I mean, I can, what's it called, Council's Judgment it away, but I would need another Plains for that. So I actually chose to do that simply because I have a Snapcaster, what's it called? I was on the super beat down here. Okay, that's fine. It's good that they actually use that in response because now Swords is going to be on top. Plains here is good, any type of plains. Okay, let's get our plains. We got it. Oh wow, we got a lot of good cards. So let's look at the cards that we want and need. First and foremost, we definitely want pretty much these three. What we're not going to want is Island, and then I'm guessing I'm putting Force of Will on top. Island, Force of Will, Island, Force of Will. There we go, perfect. Let's play Flooded Strand. Let's do this. Let's get rid of Bitter Blossom. And we have Swords up. They can't make their combo anyway, and let's attack. And we've got a Force of Will on top of our deck, which is really good. Now I have Snapcaster Council's Judgment as well, which is really good as well. Okay. Played out land, which means they don't have much. We're definitely not fetching here. What's it called? Force of Will is awesome. Unless they have a Veil of Summer in their hand. And they play something. Then it's not. Okay. And they're like, nope. They literally just gave up right there. They didn't even try to make the combo. I think they might have just been pissed off from not being able to play too much. I don't know. That was a very controlling game, a very controlling match of Magic when it comes to playing against Bug, Dark, Depths. That was a fun match. That was a fun 2 games for me. Can't say so much for my opponent. Then again, I don't know how they feel because I only play Stoneblade. There was a few minor things I could have patched up, like that turn a few turns ago where I needed 2 plains, and then also I needed another one in order to cast Council's Judgment and Swords. Either way, even if they brought in a what's it called, a Bitter Blossom, and they got 1 or 2 tokens, I don't think it would have been the worst in the world, but just something to consider. Definitely when it comes to fetching, there were still some things I needed to polish up because I needed to look for specific lands in order to cast like Snapcaster and Counterspell and Spell Snare and all that other fun stuff. Either way, that's another one for the good guys. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll talk to you soon.